welcome to the Keys to Therapy. I'm Samantha, a licensed therapist, and this is my channel. So, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about money and therapists. So, money is a really tricky thing for many people to discuss, but it's definitely something that I personally feel like was not discussed really at all in my grad program, and really not even in most of the jobs that I've had. So, it's kind of ridiculous to me because we all need money to live and we all want to make money and we need to make money, and we're going to be discussing money with clients, and it's such a big topic that it's kind of frustrating that sometimes it's very taboo. So I want to break some of those things down today, and let's talk about different ways that money issues can show up for therapists. So one way is kind of from the get-go, from our grad school programs or our first jobs, is there's a lot of myths that we're told about being a therapist. Probably the most popular one is that you're not in this field for money, or if you're in this field to make money, you're in the wrong field, or something along those lines. Like, a lot of people I've talked to have heard similar things from their professors when they were in grad school. And I'm not sure why that myth is perpetuated. Like, yeah, there's going to be certain settings where maybe you won't make as much as you will in other settings, or there may be certain points in your career, especially in the beginning, that you won't make as much as you could later on. But it doesn't mean that therapists should just be broke. Like, that doesn't make sense. So I hate that that is talked about so often in these circles, even sometimes on like social media groups and stuff for therapists. I've seen people say something about, well, I really want to make, 100,000 this year, or this is my goal. And there's almost always at least one or two people that are like, well, it's not about the money for me. I get fulfilled by doing this work. Yeah, most of us, if not all of us, went into this field because we really want to help people and we want to make a difference. But we also need to be able to live too. We also need to be able to pay our bills, pay our tons of student loans, be able to go on a vacation so we don't burn out and we can be better therapists. Like, it's just, you can tell it gets on my nerves that people don't talk about this enough. So don't believe those myths. If you're currently in grad school or you're newly licensed and you're thinking like, God, is this it? Like, I'm not going to make much more money than this, or some of the people around me really don't seem like they have much, or they're not, the raises aren't coming, or whatever the issues are, know that that's not the only place. There's so many ways as a therapist to diversify your income, to have multiple streams of income if you want, even though we shouldn't need that, to have a job that has a good work-life balance that will pay you. Or if that's not happening, you're not finding it, make your own job. So many therapists are going into private practice or having like really lucrative side hustles. So just know that these beginning stages, the myths you're being told, the things that you're hearing, the salaries you're hearing or getting in the beginning of your career is not what it needs to be the entire time, and that's up to you to change that. So the other piece of it is maybe there's either myths or like money stories that you were told or that are part of your upbringing. So those are things that you would also have to work through, hopefully prior to becoming a therapist, or at least like in the early stages of your career. Because if your family had a certain view on money, whether it was like, oh no, that's for rich people, or, we're just never going to make money, or people in your family didn't make much money, or, whatever the situation is, you may have some of your own money holdups or like mental blocks that are preventing you from asking for raises, or for maybe you feel guilty about wanting a higher paying job, or, you don't like talking about money with clients or people in general. And some of those things are going to hold you back longer term. So make sure that you, somewhere along the way, as you're doing your own work, you're acknowledging what your money holdups may be. So I know for me, like, I grew up on food stamps, and money was something nobody really had around me in the neighborhood I grew up in, like nowhere. I'm the first one that's gone to college in my family. So money was like, oh God, it's this like unattainable thing that all these other people have, and I shouldn't want that. But then it was like, well, wait, I haven't had it my whole life. So then when I would get it, I would save it too much. And then I wouldn't really spend anything for fun or invest in myself or, some of that things. So those personally were things that like I had to work through too. Going, okay, well, I don't need to continue to sacrifice like I did when I was younger, because it's not necessarily the way it has to be. Things could be different. And that's, takes some time, but kind of understand, like I said, your own money origin stories. What affected you? What things maybe held you back from asking for certain things or wanting certain things, or maybe made you feel guilty for some of the way you were feeling or thinking. That is not a block you want to have. So make sure you're working through that too. Another thing is, if some form of private practice, whether it's group practice, solo practice, or even if it's like some sort of service or business that you want to have in the future, if that's something that you want to do, you're going to have to get comfortable talking about money. So I know my first few jobs, I never had to talk about money with clients. Whether it was in residential place, that I didn't deal with any of the money stuff. Hospital, didn't deal with any of the money or insurance stuff. Military base or community mental health first, didn't deal with any of the money stuff. I remember there was a point they were like, oh, we're going to start charging clients. So, the front desk will ask and they can pay, $1, they can pay $5, whatever they can afford. But I never dealt with that. And then when I worked in the military base, they didn't pay anything. Everything was already covered through their insurance. I didn't deal with money. I didn't talk about money with them. So as far as my end, it was weird. And then going to a group practice and having to be like, oh God, I have to talk to them about fees. I have to talk to them about like cancellation policies. It was sort of intimidating. I'd never had anybody pay me before. And at that point, I think I was maybe like 7 years into my career or something like that. 6 years. So that was weird. It was awkward. It was kind of scary. It was intimidating because sometimes people will get mad at you. So, you have to know that there's going to be money conversations you're going to have at some point. So if you can get ahead of those by already mentally being comfortable thinking about money, talking about money with your own money and stuff, it's going to then become a little bit easier to do that with clients whenever you have to. So going along those same lines, clients and money. Here's some of the ways that it shows up in your work, money stuff in general. So one is, wherever you're working, you need to make sure that you have a really good understanding of whatever the fees are, the insurance, the payments, whatever is going on. So even if, say at the group practice, I didn't directly bill them, but if they were late or whatever else, I had to be the one to talk to them about the late fee. So I needed to know like what their insurance was. Can you even charge a late fee or a cancellation fee? You just kind of need to know. People in the beginning of the year would get really mad and be like, I don't understand why I'm being charged for the full session. I have insurance. And it was because of their deductible. So there were certain things that, maybe I wasn't the one directly billing them, but I was the person that they knew and the one that they were talking to about money. So I needed to have a good understanding of what was happening behind the scenes. So just make sure wherever you're working, even if it's a separate billing department or a separate admin person doing the work, make sure you have a good understanding of what it is that they're doing. Because if you want to be able to, one, explain it to clients, but also if there's an issue, you want to have a better understanding of it to try to talk to your clients about it, or talk to billing and be that buffer between the departments, or the client and the billing. So just kind of understand what's going on financially where you're at. The next point would be, if you're in private practice, know what you need to charge clients in order to make a living. So there's a really thorough, detailed calculator, and I'll link it below, from Tiffany McLean. She does a lot of work with like money mindset and therapists, and it will show you as you're, potentially just figuring out what your fee is going to be and stuff like that. It'll tell you what you need. You put in some of your expenses, some of the things that you are wanting or needing in your own practice, and use a calculator to figure that out. Don't just look at like what other people are charging and either charge below that to give clients a deal or charge above it to be more, bougie or something. Like, figure out what you need to live. So that's a big piece of private practice, is the money part. It's possibly even the biggest piece. Now, another thing when it comes to clients and money is make sure that from the get-go, you are talking to them about money, because that may be a deterrent. I've seen a lot of therapists say stuff like, oh, there was like this great client and we really hit it off and I know I'd be a good fit for them. And during the appointment, we figured out that they couldn't afford my fee, or that I don't take their insurance, or whatever the situation was. You don't want that to happen. Then everybody's disappointed. Potentially the client's upset. Maybe you were really counting on that person filling that time slot that you have open and now they can't. So, I suggest that, especially if you have your own business, on your website, I think everybody should post their fees. I personally hate when I'm looking for the cost of something that somebody's offering. Say it's a photographer, say it's renting a room at a restaurant for a birthday party, whatever the situation is. I hate when people are like, email me for the fees. Like, no, I don't want to take all these extra steps and wait when I'm already sitting here trying to plan and I'm ready to take these action steps. Let's go. But if I don't know the money, then I have to sit there. I have to email them. It's like a whole thing. So I think clients, if they're in the stage that they're like, I really want a therapist, I'm really wanting to make a change or get back into therapy or start it for the first time or whatever the situation is, they don't want to have to like really dig and figure out, like, do you take their insurance? Do you not? What do you charge? Can they afford it? And it's also a waste of your time if you aren't clear about that stuff. So if you're at a place, a group practice, a community mental health, wherever it is that you can have like consult calls, or you could potentially screen clients. And even if you can't, make sure you do it in the first session, but talk to them right away about the money piece of it. Here's how often we meet. Here's what you would be charged. Here's the policies that I have. If you no show, if you late cancel, like make sure you're being very, very clear about the money. So I do like a consultation questionnaire before we even meet. And I put on there, like, I do not take insurance. This is my fee per session. Do you understand? And they have to acknowledge that, or they can't even go forward with scheduling the consult call. It helps them if they're like, oh, nope, I can't afford that. I need to use my insurance. Or if they're like, well, yeah, I get it, then I already know that they've read it. I still review it with them verbally, because some people just, but click a bunch of yeses and move on. But I think it would be great if you can address that with clients, be very transparent, because maybe they have their own money issues. Maybe they really want to go to therapy and they're trying to figure out how they can make that happen. And maybe at that point, all they can do is use their insurance. So you need to be able to be honest with them about what it is that you're offering or what you can take. Another point is kind of along the same lines with like the cancellation fees. If you're at a place that has that, again, a group practice, maybe some community mental health places have that, make sure that you are reviewing the attendance policy and that you're holding yourself accountable. There's so many therapists out there who are like, oh, I felt guilty about charging the fee, so like I didn't do it. But once you add up all those potential late cancels, no-shows for the year that you didn't charge for, and you start seeing that maybe you could have made a couple thousand off of that, because not only did you not charge the fee, but you now could not book anybody else in that spot. That's usually when it hits therapists and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start charging because I lost thousands last year. So make sure that when you can, you are charging that cancellation fee. It's going to feel awkward. You may get some pushback, but at the end of the day, they're signing a contract with you when they sign the policies of the place you're at, or you yourself, and they're agreeing to that. So you can decide, and I'll probably have a whole video on cancellation policies in the future, but you can decide like what those may mean. If this person's sick, if it's an emergency, you can be a little flexible with what your own ways of charging are, but ultimately like make sure you're sticking with whatever that policy is. Another thing, kind of going along the lines of like where you're working and money, is make sure in the job interview, you're asking the place that you're about to work if they offer raises and how frequently. You don't want to, if you're early, start getting your hours at a place and you realize like, wait, the whole 2, 3, whatever years I'm going to be here getting my hours, I'm not ever going to get a raise. So have really transparent conversations with them about money. I know sometimes people are scared in that newbie stage where you're like, if I ask too many questions, they might like not accept me, and I really need the job so I can get my hours. And but at the same time, you also don't want to be stuck in a place that isn't working for you. So make sure that you are talking with them in the hiring process, kind of like you would with clients before they start, right? Before you start, make sure that you have a good understanding of what you're getting paid, how often, are there raises, what are the benefits, all of that stuff too. If you're not in a good place financially, it's going to be really hard to handle clients and whatever financial stuff they have going on. Another thing is, if you're at a job and you're like, oof, this salary ain't it, like this is not cutting it, this is not helping me, don't be scared to look at other jobs if you have to. I think people can get very complacent, but sometimes like certain agencies or certain practices, they're not out there for you. Like they're out there to make money off of you. And I get it. Like I said, everybody's got to make money, but you need a good quality of life too. There's way too much burnout in this field. And honestly, a lot of that is for financial reasons. People are undercompensated. People aren't budgeting maybe their own money well enough. Nobody talked about it. So like people didn't know what to expect. So just, take a really good hard look at your own finances and try to work with that. And if this job isn't working with you, there isn't raises, or maybe you have more expenses now in your life than you did earlier. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a house, whatever else. Make sure that the job you're in and the salary you're receiving matches the stage of life that you're at as well and your needs. Not every job can grow with you. So consider that. Another thing is, I guess the ultimate thing, honestly, is making sure that you have your money straight. So whether that is you have a payment plan for your student loans, as you graduate, you are looking at all of your bills and what you need to survive. You are not living off of credit cards. Like there's got to be certain things that I understand at every stage of life, things are different. Stuff happens. Your car breaks down and you really had your money straight, and then now you've got these huge expenses. But ultimately, our issues can get reflected in our sessions with clients. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want that countertransference. We don't want to be really resentful of our clients if there's something going on with them financially, because we really needed that money for that one session and now they didn't show. So you really have to make sure that you're good with your money stuff. Your money mindset is in the right space, or else it's going to reflect in your sessions. It's going to reflect in your relationships. So I feel like there should be an entire class, or at least, like a couple weeks or something, that people in grad school are talking about the money stuff. But not everybody wants to. And I think that kind of gatekeeps a lot of info in our field. I saw somebody in a Facebook group the other day that was like, here's the salary I'm being offered in the state I'm in as a new therapist. Like, is that okay? Is that enough? And, some people posted what their initial salaries were. And obviously a salary in New York or LA is going to be totally different than that person's entry salary in like Ohio. So I think it's good to kind of gauge what else is out there. Because again, there's a lot of gatekeeping happening. But ultimately, if you are not feeling good about your money and your financial situation, it's going to trickle down. And then it's just going to cycle. So I don't want to scare everybody and be like, money is so important or money is really difficult. It doesn't have to be. And there's plenty of people out there that offer free resources that, and there's people that offer really great like paid workshops and things like that can help you get some of the money stuff maybe more situated, more realistic, more handled than you may have it right now. But this is a job where someplace you work at some point in your career, you're going to be thinking about, discussing whatever money, whether it's with clients, whether it's with your own bosses, whether it's you going out on your own practice. Money matters. So I wish that there was like a, cute Disney version of, we just want to help people, because we do, but like we should get paid for that. Everybody else that helps people gets paid for it. We should too. And I think we all should talk about that more. So I hope that this video was helpful. I know it was a little all over the place, but I feel like money kind of, interacts with like multiple facets of our life. So just really take a look at yourself, where any of your money holdups may be, what you can do to get yourself in a good financial position and start getting comfortable talking about money with some of the people in your life that it would matter with. Practice with some people. You know, if you're scared of putting in that cancellation policy, practice with a partner, with a friend, and just be like, oh, can I run through this with you? I just need to get comfortable saying the words. You know, have a little script written out for yourself. Save an email template if you're telling clients through email that they're going to be charged. You just, streamline whatever you can. Practice whatever you can, because you're going to be talking about money for a very long time. And like I said, I wish more people did. But if you want to keep up with future videos, then subscribe below. I also started an email newsletter. So in those, I will be giving like freebies, some tips, and some discount codes on future workshops and events that I'll be hosting. So the link for that is below as well. But I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.